Hi Jen, I'm really struggling to remember what accounts are debits or credits. I know dead click, but still get muddled up. Do you have any tips?
It's important to remember that for every debit entry there's a credit entry, so sometimes it's easier to have a look at what's happening with the bank. This can help us decide which side the entry goes on, even after using dead click. So this can be helpful if you can't remember or you're not sure as to what is a liability or an expense, or income or an asset. We know that receipts coming into the bank go on the debit side and payments going out of the bank go on the credit side. So if we can remember just this, then we can figure out what the other entries are and what side they go on. So if we think about a credit customer, we know that we'll have an entry into the bank and we'll have an opposite entry. So which is which? The receipt from the customer is money coming into the bank. So we know this will go on the debit side. This means that the opposite entry is a credit. So we will credit the sales ledger control account. So if we paid a supplier, we know that this is money coming out of the bank. So we would credit the bank and we would debit the purchase ledger control account. The same applies to lots of other things. For example, capital. When a business first starts, capital is introduced into the business. So this is money coming into the bank. This would be on the debit side. So the opposite entry for the capital would be on the credit side. Another example is if the business purchased a van. When we pay for the van, that would be money coming out of the bank, so that would go on the credit side. The opposite entry would be a debit. Now we know that it would be a debit because the business now has an asset. So we can see from the examples that the same principle applies throughout.